During 60s, those are the clothes.
This is it's not Chinese style. This is a
No,
Filipino style.
that is just the style, American style or what? No, I cannot. I don't know.
Dress code. We.
Yeah. June 26.
Oh, it's at PM. I'm okay because my
Yeah,
daughter.
7.
But I need to go to the if I go to Korea, my flight is AM
Yeah.
2 a.m. So after this, I must go to the airport.
Yeah.
It's too late because 2 a.m.
Yeah, so tight. You don't have a sleep.
But this day, I'm in Hong Kong because my daughter is graduation day next day.
Yeah.
It's too late.
You don't need to leave late. You can leave early. Just join in
But
early. But
I leave earlier than I go to the hotel airport. So early.
it's too tight for you. We are here to watch the. Can I borrow your ticket, please? We are here to watch the jazz. Hong Kong. We are here in Hong Kong City Hall, Hong Kong Big Band Jazz Federation. 8 p.m. here. It's our ticket. Our Outflix.
You say?
Welcome to Summer Jazz with the Saturday Night Jazz Orchestra. I am Elizabeth, your navigator and host tonight. We open with a very challenging score of the classic Irving Berlin standard, Alexander Ragtime Band, which pushes most talented bands to the technical limits. And that is exactly what we do with SNJO, Saturday Night Jazz Orchestra. In every show, we try something new, something fun, and something to push our limits. Now tonight, we bring you the Roaring 20s. The 1920s in America is what we call the jazz age. These unconventional sounds and textures still sound exactly as avant-garde as they were first heard over the gramophones, the smoky speakeasies, and in the dance hall a century ago. So let's hear it from Saturday Night Jazz Orchestra. Heaven, which later became a big hit in Japan. Now, speaking of heaven, I loved the movie by Woody Allen, Midnight in Paris, when Owen Wilson, doing his best Woody impersonation of, oh my God, he was traveling back in time in the 1920s, stumbles into a Jean cocktail party and befriends Fitzgerald and Hemingway. He falls in love with the golden age and went back every night at midnight to Paris. And if our lovely vocalist, Yvonne Barry, were to travel back in time, Yvonne, and I've said this before, I think Yvonne, yes, the lovely Yvonne Barry, and if Yvonne were to travel back in time, and I've said this before, I think she would be the perfect blend of Ella Fitzgerald and Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, but I had blonde hair then, and
Yes.
then I went and spoiled it all by dyeing my hair back.
And with all this bling tonight, maybe more befittingly, the Catherine Zeta-Jones character in Chicago, I think all you are missing is a machine gun.
For the second set.
So Yvonne's going to bring us Lullaby of Broadway.
Come along and listen to the lullaby of Broadway. Deliver a young belly fool, the lullaby of Broadway. Run along the subway train, ride along a taxi. Daffodils to entertain, and Angelos and Maxie's when a Broadway baby says goodnight. It's early in the morning. My head babies don't sleep tight down to the door. Good night, baby. Good night. The milkman's on his way. Sleep tight, baby. Sleep tight. Let's call it a day. Come on along and listen to the lullaby of Broadway. The lullaby of Broadway. The lullaby of Broadway. Band begins to go to town, and everyone goes crazy. You rock by your baby run, till everything goes hazy. Hush, I'll buy you listen back. You hear daddy saying. And baby goes home to her flat to sleep all day. Good night, baby. Good night. The milkman's on his way. Sleep tight, baby. Sleep tight. Let's call it a day. Listen to the lullaby soul is what I aim for. Whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. Take off your coat, don't you know you can win? I'm no exception to the rule. I'm irresistible, you. I always get what I aim for, and your heart and soul is what I came for. Whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. Take off your coat, don't you know you can win? You're no exception to the rule. I'm irresistible, you fool. Give in, give in, give in. Thank you.
Now that song is so contemporary, it could be sung by Lady Gaga. Because I think we all agree, whatever Lola or Yvonne or Elizabeth wants, we must get. We probably want the same thing as people did 100 years ago, but we might call it something different. So the next song was written in 1928, called Making Whoopee, which means to celebrate wildly, but later on took on a different meaning. Let's just say it means having a really, really good time. can hear that sexiness from Joseph's rendition. I almost want to recline on the piano in front of Costello. Well, we just had Ella, and now we're going to bring you Nat King Cole.
Wow.
Let's bring out Asplin,
famous
who's
singer,
going to
Nat
sing
King
us
Cole.
When Your Lover Is Gone.
When you're alone, evening shadows bring. When you're alone, the magic moonlight dies at break of dawn. There is no sunrise when your lover has gone. What lonely hours the evening shadows bring. What lonely hours with memories lingering like faded flowers. Life can mean anything when your lover has gone. Of dawn, there is no sunrise when your lover has gone. What lonely hours the evening shadows bring. What lonely hours with memories lingering like faded flowers. Life can mean anything when you're a lover. When you're a lover. When you're a lover. You smiled when we parted, it hurt me somehow. I thought there was nothing worthwhile. The tables are turning and you're crying now, while I am just learning to smile. Who's sorry now? Who's sorry now? Whose heart is aching for breaking each vow? Who's sad and blue? Who's crying too? Just like I cried over you. Right to the end, just like a friend. I tried to warn you somehow. You had your way, now you must pay. I'm glad that you're sorry now. you, I cannot forget how you shattered all my ideals. You smiled when I told you that you will regret, and now you know just how it feels. Right till the end, just like a friend, I tried to warn you somehow. You had your way, now you must pay. I'm glad that you're sorry, glad that you're sorry. I'm glad that you're sorry now.
Now, let me talk a little bit about our band leader and founder of Saturday Night Jazz Orchestra, Takahiro Hama. So, Taka-san told me when he used to live in New York in the 1980s, when he's not down in the jazz club at night, he will be watching The Tonight Show with Jimmy Carson, and that's how he learned his English. Now, The Tonight Show was the world's longest running talk show, and Jimmy Carson hosted between 1960s all the way to 1990s. And why the importance of that show in a jazz concert? That's because throughout that time, they have a full 17-piece jazz orchestra playing every night, bringing the jazz sound of the 1920s back into the popular culture's awareness. And so tonight, we would again, because of this inspiration of the Tonight Show, hear more jazz from the Saturday Night Jazz Orchestra. And when we talk about the orchestra, the heart and soul of the sound, the voice, when we don't have a vocalist, are the trumpeters. So coming up, you will experience from our truly outstanding trumpeters in the next song, Stardust. Well, as I just mentioned, The Tonight Show by Jimmy Carson was Tucker's inspiration for our collaboration in the last 4 years. And being part of SNJO has been a dream. Although I had real difficulty explaining to everyone what my role as a navigator is in a jazz orchestra, so for random people, I just tell them I play the triangle. And by the way, Costelle, next time you have to bring that down so I can recline on your... Well, by the way, our dress code for Saturday Night Jazz Orchestra has always been black and black. I'm breaking code today in the spirit of Flapper Girls of the Roaring Twenties. We were just given the right to vote, and in celebration of the newfound liberation, we wear short skirts, cut our hair in a bob, and dance to jazz music. Flapper Girls were known for our adventurous behavior, including smoking, drinking alcohol, partying, and dancing, and also, don't forget, having casual dating. Well, I'm not very lucky in the last activity, and trust me, you do not want to see me dance. But I have to admit, I was quite an expert in the smoking and drinking department in my younger days. But that's always two sides of the coin. You see, after World War I, there was a surplus of women who found themselves with nothing to do. And condoms have become very effective. And with the rise of automobiles, there is freedom of movement. And the war and the Spanish pandemic, the Spanish flu pandemic, kind of instilled the sense of life is short. Does that sound familiar to you? Now, 1925 was a special year, and Annus Mirabilis. You guys might say, Liz, you're making that up, because obviously this is for the jazz show, and 1920s is the jazz age. Hey, but I've done my research, so hear me out. Within the same 12 months, exactly 100 years ago, 1925, F. Scott Fitzgerald published The Great Gatsby. And in the same year, the future Führer wrote Mein Kampf. The Scopes monkey trial, in which a teacher was charged for teaching evolution, proved that men can evolve upwards, while Mussolini's rise to power that very same year, declaring himself Il Duce, seemed to indicate the opposite. In that year, we made the movie Ben-Hur, and also a film based on the character She Who Must Be Obeyed. By the way, guys, mind you, you should call me that from now on.
She must be obeyed.
Now, to quote Charles Dickens, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. So what was the soundtrack of the best and worst times? It took a special kind of music to accompany such a special year. Radio brought the big band into small homes. Charleston went from being a South Carolina city to a dance craze that swept the nation. and Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington had laid down their signature tunes. And as the band plays on and the flapper girls swing, the New Yorker began publication. The KKK marched Washington. The first electric train ran in India, and Sun Yat-sen died in China the same year with the start of the Canton Hong Kong strike. And the bitterly divided views of everything can be seen in the full-blown gore and glory in 1925, or maybe 2025. We have come far, and yet not very far at all. This flapper girl had to sneak out of home because if my generation alpha daughter were to see me looking like this, she would say, "Mom, you are not going out like this." And as Faulkner said, which Woody Allen borrowed in Midnight in Paris, the past is never dead. It's not even past. And tonight, the past lives again as we listen to the jazz that was its heartbeat. Taka-san, Maestro, let's hear it again from the Saturday Night Jazz Orchestra. on the baritone. That was a little preview of the Latino flair that you will hear more in the second set. I hope you have had a really good time with us so far. We'll take a 15-minute intermission and come back with some very special guests tonight.
Yay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Having another song before we take the intermission?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Galing. Break. Wow. We have a break. And now, what can you say? Tapos na. 15 minutes break. Break. For the sake. For the sake. I break you.
I wanted to.
I break your heart.
I want to say something. Break.
Break. Ang gandang galing. Parang bumalik tayo sa unang panahon.
I forgot this time I returned to Hong Kong already because I will come back on 25.
Ano? Very nice. Ang ganda ng... Hi ate, enjoy. Naku, yung dalawa nag-ano. Para tayong nasa unang panahon, ano? Na-imagine ko yung Gatsby tayo.
Ang asawa niya doon, yung magaling. Saan doon? Yung alin? Yung asawa niya doon. Sino doon? Magaling. Dami nasa harapan. Hindi, di ba siya yung nag-ibig na gano'n? Sa harap mismo nung siya.
Later on.
Yung hairphone na naka-ponytail.
Yun palang yeah, I saw that. Mukhang mukhang no eh. Mahabang buhok na gano'n, naka-ponytail. Kasi sabi ko,
Will you join this one?
Pilipino yun. Oy, let's have a picture.
Will you join this one?
Right, let's have a picture. She will... So, hanggang dito na lang at mamaya, the second half of the program. Take a break muna kami. Mamaya, ang galing, para mas magsayaw ng jazz. Ito po yung mga nanonood doon. Nagbe-break sila eh. So, mamaya po ulit. Thank you. Bye-bye.
But it's close.